Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome back to the channel. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button, like, comment, share, all that good stuff. Today, we are talking to Jim Anthony, a singer-songwriter from the Minneapolis area. So, let's get to it. Welcome back to Man the Helm podcast. I'm your host, Jake. Today, I'm sitting down with Jim Anthony. What's up, dude?
Hey man, not much. Thanks for having me.
Dude, it's absolute pleasure. I came across you on TikTok, man, and I've been following your lives and all your other stuff. But to be honest with you, I don't really know a whole lot about you besides just what I've seen on TikTok because I just found out about you. So maybe we can start with kind of who you are, your backstory, how you kind of got into this wild world you're in right now, and then we can kind of just go from there.
It is wild. It is wild, and I'm glad you tripped across me on TikTok because I'm a TikTok newbie.
Oh
I've
yeah,
actually only been on for a few weeks.
nice.
I think like 8 weeks now. I jumped on, then I got the COVID,
Oh yeah,
unfortunately, and was down for a couple 2 weeks with that, and jumped back in. But um, my story's a lot different than other people's. I think because I started out many years ago, and I always wanted to be a songwriter.
nice. Yeah.
And so I wanted to create, and I believe wholeheartedly there are two types of musicians in this world, and some hover. It's like an equilibrium. Like on one side you have the copy, the ability to copy,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't mean that disparagingly, and I'll share why in just a moment. And on the other end of the equilibrium you have those that create, and somewhere we're all on a fader. I For whatever reason, the way that my brain was wired, I like literally can't play cover songs. If I played you a Dylan song, it'll sound like Poison. If I played you a Poison
Gotcha.
song, it'll sound like Taylor Swift. And I just thought, man, this is crazy. But I always wanted to write.
Mm-hmm.
And so basically when I was, right out of high school, I moved up to the Minneapolis area because the music scene was and still is pretty decent in
Nice.
the
Yeah.
Minneapolis area. It's not Nashville and it's not LA or whatever, but it's got a good scene. So, anyways, I jumped up and I thought I'm going to be a songwriter. Nobody wants to hear anybody's songs when you're 20 years old, you know.
Right.
And so I started doing studio work. Drummers. I was a drummer, first instrument, and I started doing that. And one thing turned into another, and through years I just kept writing and getting out and looking for opportunities to play. So I've been at the all original songwriting thing now for a little over 20 years.
Nice.
And so that part has been incredibly frustrating and fulfilling all at the same time,
Yep.
equal parts,
Yep.
right? Because as people, when you want a gig, people say, well, don't play your stuff, play some whatever. But I just kept at it and I kept doing it. So over time, I recorded 7 or 8 albums, a couple of them in
Nice.
Texas and a couple in Minneapolis, three in Texas, and 3 or 4 in Nashville. And through that process, I just went, I would rather myself play for an audience of 200 with songs that I can relate to so I can translate right to the audience what I was feeling, things like that. And I just kept grinding it out. And I guess to bring that kind of full circle, eventually what happened was I thought I was burnt out with the music, and I
Okay.
wasn't. I was burnt out with the music business.
Yep.
So 7 years ago, 2015, I played my last live gig and I touched my guitar for the last time. They went back in the cases. They went in my closet in this room. The awards, the accolade, like everything got put away, and I just kind of walked away from it. And when the pandemic hit, there wasn't a lot for me to do, and there wasn't a lot going on. The only thing I did throughout was I was writing with and for other artists. I
Okay.
did enjoy that. So I guess I kept one guitar out and my MacBook Pro. But anyways, I walked away from everything else. But when the pandemic hit and I was home all the time and I had to write, over the phone or, Zoom or whatever the case was, I found myself with more time, and I found myself writing one song then another. And I found myself falling back in love with the artistry,
Right.
not just the writing, not just behind the scenes. I think I needed that time to decompress from the industry and the stuff that can come with it. And that's what actually about your podcast is you're bringing tools and people and resources, because I think that had I heard some of your podcasts, I might not have put my stuff away for 7 years.
Right.
Honestly, I felt like I was trying to push this boulder uphill alone, and maybe I was. And I wanted to get back to the creative and the artistry side again and have fun. And I have never had more fun. So here I am. I'm 48 years old. I'm starting all over again. I mean, completely from scratch. A couple of years ago, I took my Facebook page down, a couple of years ago, 2015, with 55,000 followers, and other social media and stuff. And now I'm ironically having a blast grassrootsing it at 48 years old after 7 years off.
Absolutely. Yeah, man, you just needed a little bit of that reset, you know? It just a- and the thing with that, it's like I did the whole cover stuff, you know what I mean? I've been, playing in cover bands for quite a while, and you get stuck in this like perpetual loop. And then next thing you know, it's like you're just it feels more of just like a routine. And when you start writing for yourself, those shows that you do with that music that so passionate about, it comes through and goes back to the audience, and then you get it back,
Yeah,
and it's just this give and take when you're at those
yeah,
original shows like that, you know what I mean?
yeah,
And it's
it
so
is.
fulfilling. And my thing is the community that you see in music now, people get this confused with people on social media. That's not the community in music. The trolls on social media are not the people you need to be paying attention to.
No,
It's the people that you have personal and professional connections with that are really pushing you in the best way possible just to be better, and they're trying to help you. If and that's my biggest thing, I just try to help people out the best I can. I don't really know what I'm doing half the time, like I think most of us don't, but we have
yeah,
somewhat of a plan to go forward. But my biggest thing is showing people that, like, you're a perfect example. It's never too late to start or start again. You know what I
yeah,
mean? There's
yeah.
no reason, especially in the day we live in. You don't even have to leave your house anymore if you want to
Mhm.
be somebody, whatever that means,
Yeah, right.
It's a great time to live. And TikTok is really awesome too, and I've really enjoyed the lives that you've done because I can feel that passion of the songs that you've written through the live. And that's kind of a weird thing to see. You know what I mean? Usually it's just like, oh,
Mhm.
hey, this is the original song. It's some, three chords in a story, which is good, but you can see your passion through your music. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I appreciate that a ton. And that's exactly what I aspire to when I write a song.
Yeah.
Because I think one of the reasons I got out was the previous three albums that I did in Nashville. The one I just released, I did in Nashville, but I worked with the producer who I hired,
Yep.
right? Before the producers were hired to produce me. And they were like, we need to change this phrase. And I go, that phrase is real to me. Like that was the hook of the song. And they're like, yeah, I know, but a 13-year-old teenage girl driving down the road to Pontiac Grand Am in a tube top with a baseball cap on backwards isn't going to resonate with it. And I'm like, what? What
Right.
about the rest of the world? And
Right.
so, because when I play a song, for example, there's a song, that I play frequently, and I have for years, and it's by far always been my most requested song live. Ironically, it's a slower song, but it hits deep, and it hits deep with me. Every once in a while, even on a TikTok live, when I'm looking at a screen just like this right here, and I'm not seeing anybody, but I'm just seeing chats and likes or whatever, and roses coming in. I'm so in tune with that song, though, it will mildly choke me up. And I've
Right.
sang that song hundreds and hundreds of times. And I think that that's the difference between, so that's why I say that the difference between copying and creating. Because here's the other theory that I have. If someone says, hey, can you play Keith Whitley? I can, and I will for you. Keith Whitley did it better than I will ever do it. I'm
Right.
just an imitator. And again, that's no discredit to people playing cover songs. I have so much respect because if I'm not mistaken, Keith Whitley wrote that song. I'd have to, double check to verify that. But he delivered it in such an exceptional way. And so did Alison Krauss and
Hmm.
others, that there's a respect part of me going, I want to leave that alone.
Right.
And the other thing that I wanted to mention was on New Year's Eve, my wife and I just stayed home and chilled, which was really amazing. And we were watching the Nashville stuff, and they were going around from club to club, and they were playing stuff. and Brooks and Dunn came on, and Kristen, my wife, goes, "How old are these guys?" And I go, "I don't know. Let's look it up." And I think Ronnie Dunn is like 75.
Yeah,
And she
yeah.
goes, "Wow." She goes, "He looks good and he sounds great. Do you think he's lip syncing?" I'm like, "No, the guy actually sounds that good. There's no way he's lip syncing because of the ad libbing and stuff." And I just paused and I turned to her with a big smile and I said, "How cool is that? That he is doing what he loves and you can see it. You can see the passion in him and he's doing what he loves at 75. I don't care about a date. I don't care about an age. I don't care about a timestamp. What I care about is, what are you willing to give as an artist?
Right.
You should be an artist as long as you're willing to give everything. And I think it's that. Here's another layer deeper of that. There are some extremely technically talented people, and you, my friend, have some serious guitar chops.
Oh, I appreciate it.
I was checking those out. My goodness. Um, there are people that can sing and play very technically precise. And you and I could watch them. It doesn't matter what the genre is. And you go, hey, they're good. Wow. Pitch perfect, timing, rhythm, tempo, vocal pitch, delivery, breath control. And you go, it's good. There are people that don't have delivery, don't have breath control. Their pitch isn't great. They forgot to tune their guitar, but they're singing their guts out. And you can just feel the authenticity. You go, I'm going to listen to this over and over and over again. And I grew up in a music system and in an era where everything had to be polished, produced, pitch perfect. Sometimes I had to do a syllable 47 times to
Right.
get the breath control just right. And I'm like, now I finally, on my ninth album, said it can be a little bit imperfect. Now, don't get me wrong. I put a ton of time and energy, into this most recent album, but there's some ways I can deliver it, and it's a little bit more raw or emotional, true to the lyrics. And there are guys that are out there singing that have made an incredible living off of not being pitch perfect. I don't even want to name names. I'm not criticizing them. I'm saying it's cool. I love it. I appreciate it. I respect it because it's authentic. I wish that the industry, we can all, me, you, and anyone listening, get back to authenticity and being an artist again. And again, for people who want to cover tunes, do it. Like, cover the tunes. You've got a gift, you've got a talent. Just keep getting out and entertain people. For
Right.
people who really want to get into artistry, though, if there is one thing I could say to them, it's just be you and just be authentic.
Well, and don't be afraid to show your mistakes. I always try to make a point to show that. One, for me, so I can look back, a year or two from now and see improvement. But it's the small inconsistencies that catch people's ears. Whether you're singing,
Mhm.
whether you're playing, it's people don't want to go, especially a live performance. They don't want to go see the album. They want to
Yeah,
see
that's right.
you performing and having a
That's
good
right.
time on stage. You
Yeah.
know, um, the social media culture, especially around like technical prowess of guitar playing, there are 12 and 13-year-old kids that can outshred 99.9% of us. So
Mm.
the technical stuff is important, but it's also really important, like you just said, to be honest and authentic with yourself as an artist.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
if that's one of those things that you're not really into, don't wrap your head around it too much. It's not that
Yeah.
big of a deal. If you're not going to be shredding, that's fine. Some
Yeah.
of the best solos that I've ever written for myself and other artists are literally just taking a little bit of liberty with the melody.
Yeah.
That's all it is. And
Yeah.
when you have that, you have a catchy hook or a catchy melody, and then you interpret that into a guitar solo or a small little bridge. Well, now the audience still has something they can sing back to you. You know what I
That's
mean?
right.
And
That's
that's
right.
that's really what's important. Now the whole, shreddy stuff, yeah, live, that's cool. You can be a cool guitar player
Mhm.
for about 15-20 seconds and show off your licks. But at the end of the day, especially if you're playing for another artist, man, like, you want to play to the song. If the song calls for it,
That's right.
awesome. If it doesn't,
Yeah.
hey, get something simple and make sure it fits the song. You know, that's the way I've always
Yeah.
tried to look at it. And that's the way I've tried to look at it for social media too. Fitting you to the platform. If it makes sense for what you're
Mhm.
doing, focus on it. Don't worry about what everybody
Yeah.
else is doing. Just be authentic to yourself.
Yeah. and to your point, I think that goes with artists and players. And so, and I don't want to name names. One of my Nashville albums, I didn't produce, I didn't even co-produce. So I was just enjoying the ride,
Right.
until I had to do, and watching these session players crush everything. Well, of course, in Nashville, you come in with charts. I
Right.
was going to hold one up. It's just slightly out of reach, but everybody listening to this will know what a Nashville chart is, most likely. And so the producers come in, and they give all the guys the charts, and they set up, and these guys play on everybody's records, that not everybody's, but a lot of the great ones that you hear. And they put these charts in front, and the guitar player, who is an incredible session and live guitar player. In fact, I respect him because he does Nashville session stuff, and for probably 8 to 10 years he was live on the road with Dave Matthews. And
Nice.
so
Yeah.
to be able to have that type of versatility as a guitar player, I have nothing but respect for. But they put the charts in front. And there's a song called "With You" that I have on my Good to Be Me album. Now everyone's going to go and look at the names of the players. But on this "With You" album, at the end of the song, well, during the solo, anyways, he was going to follow the charts, and he did it like 3 times. And then he just said to the producers and the engineer, he said, "Hey man, can I have one crack, like just one crack at," and this was like 10 hours into the day of recording with all the players. Everybody's
Right.
getting tired, the Mountain Dew high is wearing off and whatever. And he said, "Just give me one crack at, I got something going on in my mind." And he just turns to the band. He goes, "Just follow me. If we don't like it, just stop me 20 seconds in. I won't waste any more time." And I'm just sitting here going, "Oh, this is going to be interesting. It's either going to fail miserably or be amazing." What
Absolutely.
was amazing? Because what happened was he played the solo. I literally watched the keyboard player, his shoulders and his back get more straight. He smiles. He turns to the bass player. The bass player, they're all in different, ISO rooms. The bass player turns to the drummer through the window, and the drummer's beaming from ear to ear. And the coolest thing happened, because he was willing to play from himself and his authenticity and his artistry. At the end of the song, when it was supposed to end, it all starts to kind of die down. And all of a sudden, he starts turning the volume up, doesn't look at anybody, doesn't say a word, and he vamps, and he goes into like a minute and a half of stuff. The whole band follows him. It was one take. It's incredible. I mean, to the point where, to this day, when I listen to the artistry and knowing what I saw and experienced, I practically need a cigarette when I'm done listening to what happened. And the awesome thing is yes, there's a time and a place for charts and a path and organization and structure, and I get all of that. But when he was able to be him and an artist, what he brought to the table was incredible. The odd thing is he was timid and afraid to ask for that,
Yeah.
to speak up, because of the culture. And I want to be in a culture, and I want to create a subculture wherever I go, as tiny as it will be, to say, if you're in my circle and I'm in yours and we're in our circle, let's encourage each other to be authentic and artists.
Yeah. Well,
It's where the magic happens.
it is where the magic happens, man. But especially I'm not too big, I'm not too deep into that world, but I do know from friends and other players in the area, that's one of those jobs where it's like you show up, here's the chart, do your job. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
not meant to sound like that cold or that whatever. It's just you have a job to do.
Mhm.
You have the artist here. This is
Right.
their song. Play what they want.
That's
You
right.
know what I mean? And the
Yeah.
producer is really the one that's running the show, like you said. The producer is the one that's like, "Oh, hey,
Yeah.
you hired me, or I took you in, or whatever the situation was. I'm kind of gonna
Yeah.
dictate what we do here." You know what I mean?
That's
So
right. Yeah. And talk about squashing someone's artistry,
yeah,
right? I mean, I came out of my mom's womb a black sheep, and I've only gotten worse, since I took my first couple gulps of air. And I'm just kind of inherently wired to just go, I would prefer to do it this way. Um, and so when you think about the people that go, that's the other thing, like particularly, and I don't want to sound like I'm anti-Nashville. I am not. I have some incredible friends there, and there are some incredible people and talent and everything. My dilemma, here's a better way to put it. The institutionalization of music is my personal challenge,
Gotcha. Yeah.
right? And or my personal personally challenged with it. And you know, when people go, I was actually on another live. There's another guy in Minnesota. I tripped across, and the guy can wail. I mean, the guy can wail, and he had like 7 people on there, and I'm like, why are there not 300 people watching this guy right now?
Right.
And immediately, he's singing country, and immediately people go into, you need to go to Nashville, you need to go to Nashville, you need to go to Nashville, and I'm thinking that's one path,
Yeah,
but
for sure.
I would want the whole world to know it is not the only path.
No.
It is not the only path. And also, what a beautiful day and age that you and I live and do music in, because we can do this, what we're doing right now. We can go on TikTok live, we can go on YouTube live, you can do Facebook live if you're on it. There are so many different things you can do. I personally have missed, again, recently, live audiences, so I'm back doing that again, because it's that interpersonal connection that
Right.
I absolutely love. It's when I play I have a song called True American Hero. And man, it will, I've done it for 3 or 4 times recently in the last, 60 days for large events that honor veterans with PTSD. We call it Unseen Scars. And in those moments, I will play and look out, and there are practically no dry eyes in an auditorium of 500 people. And I don't get that response on TikTok. I don't know if my song is landing or missing or
Right.
anything in between, but that live interaction is absolutely incredible. But I also love the fact that I can get a song out, and I can share my artistry sitting right here in my house. When it snows 12 inches like it did, over the last 48 hours, if I want to share my music with an audience, I can just go on TikTok on the app, hit the start button, grab my guitar, and go. I
Right.
love that. We get the best of both worlds.
For sure. Well, and it's also cool too, man, because I mean, you don't even have to leave your house if you want to make an album anymore. You know what I mean?
Correct.
You know,
Yeah.
that's one of the best things, and that's one of the only things I don't ever deter anybody, like you were saying about, oh, you should be in Nashville, you should go do this, and I'm just like, well, you don't have to now. You
Mhm.
you can
Yeah.
just network online with people, and if you're as
Mhm.
talented as you are, then someone's going to recognize you. It's not like,
That's right.
but the problem is if you go down to Nashville, it's like going to LA to be an actor or New York to be on Broadway.
That's right. Yeah.
Everybody's trying to do the same thing. And there are people,
Mhm.
unfortunately, that are living on the streets right now down in Nashville that can play and sing better than most people you've ever met, most likely, because that was what they
That's right.
wanted to do.
Yeah.
And it's a hard business to get into. And I don't think anybody realizes, especially just like, even just like social media, how much work it is to market yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's,
I do.
you see these people from the outside perspective, and I always refer to them as the must be nice commenters. You know what I mean? It's always, oh, it must be nice to blah, 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 blah. It's like, well, yeah, it is, because I put in years of work to get
Blood,
to,
sweat,
to this.
tears, money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like I just opened up TikTok one day and I had a bunch of followers just hit me up, or
Right.
YouTube
Yeah.
guys or whatever. So it's one of those things that I think, and that's the other thing I like to draw back the curtain a little bit. I like to to explain to people that yes, it is nice when you get to a certain level of quote unquote personal success, whatever you want to frame that as, but the work that is involved to get to that personal success is almost overwhelming sometimes as an individual.
I, I think it is, and I think it's a majority of the time. I
Yeah.
really do. In fact, I remember when I was playing out live a lot, I had a buddy who said, "Man, I want to go with you on the road for a few days." And so it was
Mhm.
like a 5-day trip. And after day 2, because I was promoting an album, so I was in a radio station in like Little Rock, Arkansas, at like 5:30 in the morning, getting ready
Yep.
for like the drive time show and stuff. So I'm doing that. Well, the night before, of course, I played until 11:30, signed CDs and T-shirts and hats until 1. I was big enough to be able to do that and to promote an album and tour, but I was small enough where I had to carry the monitors and the speakers and help the drummer put the stuff in the trailer, and then drive 4.5 hours, sleep 2.5, wake up, do that, take a quick nap, eat some breakfast at the Holiday Inn Express, and then have a quick meeting, go over the agenda for the day or whatever, go in and load in from 3:30 to 5, and then go eat something quick because they needed to do something or another band had to check in, sound check and line check it from 6:15 to 7, go back, you're on at 8:30, you play till 10:15, you sign the CD, you do it over. After 3 days, he goes, dude, if I buy a plane ticket, can somebody get me to the airport? I don't know how you do this.
Right.
I don't know how you do this. And he told me, he said, I always looked at you up on the stage for like 90 minutes or 2 hours and thought, this is the coolest job in the world. He said, what percentage of your job is doing what I think you do all the time? I said, probably 10%.
Right.
And that's not even considering the years of teaching myself to play guitar and writing and,
Exactly.
refining and learning equipment and all this other stuff. I think that one thing that has happened in the last several years is we have cheapened artistry a little bit, meaning, not acknowledge, not understanding. So I believe quite a few philosophies, but one of them is appreciation comes through understanding.
Yes.
And people look to the really big artists who have 3 buses, 3 trailers, with semis, and they come in and they've got 30 guys that come in and load up stuff and do whatever, and they don't even see the merch, they don't know what's going on, and they have green rooms set up and meet and greets and tents and all that, and their job is to go up on the stage. I think that sometimes they'll look at you and me and think that a large part of that is what we're doing.
Yeah.
They're not seeing us tearing down all this stuff at home, putting in our trucks and our trailers, meeting the guys, driving 3 hours round trip, and then loading in and setting up. And I think that it's a hard job, and people that are looking to do this, because the other thing that I'll say real quick is when people are going to Nashville, I'll ask them, because I'm not going to give them advice. It's their personal lives. I will share my personal experience, and that should be tiny sliver, and that's it. But I'll say, what are you going there for? And 8 or 9 times out of 10, what they'll say is, I want to go to pursue my dreams. And I'll say, that's fine. Pursue them wherever you want to, or go wherever you want to, but stop pursuing your dreams and just start living it. Start living it. Love the fact that you have an audience of 15 on TikTok tonight. Love it. Play your guts out for those 15 people. But we're so worried about pursuing the dream and arriving, I'm not even sure what that means, that we don't enjoy the process along the way. That's what burnt me out. That's why I'm saying I've never had more fun, because the outcome, I don't care anymore. Right. No. I've been fortunate and I've been blessed in the outcome and some other things. And so what I can do is a little bit different than other artists having, cut my teeth and stuff and other writing and stuff. But I actually now have the ability, not the ability, I always had the ability. I made my mind up to say, I'm going to enjoy the ride and I'm going to live my dream, not pursue it.
Exactly. No, I think it's funny though, because I had a few friends that asked why I moved down here, and I was like, I didn't really move down here because I wanted to go to Nashville. I'm just north of Nashville. I was in the military and I got out at Fort Campbell, so I was right there in Clarksville. So my wife and I bought a house, and I was like, might as well stay here. You know what I mean? There's no reason not to.
Yeah.
But my thing is, I primarily play mostly. I do play in Nashville from time to time, but mostly it's been in the local like Clarksville area, which I have a feeling is kind of like, the Minneapolis. It's like, it's not huge, but it's a cool scene.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I would rather, you see, when you go to these local shows of these bands, and maybe they're, younger kids, or maybe, early to late 30s, those are the people that I really like, because if I don't know what it is, maybe this is just me being too general, but when I see the people that are in their like early 20s to mid 20s, those are the people that are like, oh, I'm gonna make it. This is what I'm gonna do. I'm the next big thing. You know what I mean? And I'm just like, I hope you are. I truly do hope you are, but not with that attitude. You're not, man.
Yeah, I think that also comes a little bit with the music world. People see artists that have arrived who, and you and I have seen them. We've been around long enough in the music scene where someone actually starts out really humble, really true,
Right.
authentic, and then the success, it either is going to make someone, it's going to either enhance their great qualities, or it's going to highlight some not so great,
Right.
qualities or attributes about that person. And I think sometimes we see the attitude or the edge of people who have arrived, and we think that must be part of the package. I have to be this way. No, you
Yeah.
don't.
No, you don't. It,
You
it's
know,
it's one of those misconceptions, I think, too, because like you see, like for instance, if you look at social media again, you see a snapshot of what they're wanting to show you. They're not showing you everything else. It's kind of like what your friend was talking about, like, oh, dude, I want to do what you do, because all he saw was the live show, you on
yeah,
stage.
that's right.
They didn't see the other 23 hours of the day. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? That
that's
were
it.
completely full.
That's right. And I think that goes back to, what I was talking to earlier about the artistry,
Yeah.
because you and I both know. In fact, here's another quick funny story. I was playing at a state fair, and I actually was opening up for Sawyer Brown,
Nice.
and yeah, and in a big stage, lots of people there. And what happened was I got the stomach flu like an
Mm,
hour before we went on. And so, and when you open, as you know, you only get like 40 minutes. And by the way, I learned then not 38, not 42,
40.
40 minutes. Like, figure it out. There's a timer for a reason, And if you can't figure it out, we'll find someone who can. What was my very first time on this with this group on this stage. And I got the stomach flu, and I'm just yakking. I'm yakking left and right. And I'm like, man, I don't think I can go on. I'm literally laying on the cement ground going, what in the world are we going to do? I don't know what happened or how. I think part of it is just like adrenaline and commitment saying the show must go on, right? Because that's how we're wired. And so basically, I walked up the back steps. I threw up in a garbage can next to it, went on and played for 40 minutes, put on a show, walked off to the backstage, hit that same garbage can, and threw up all over again in there. And the guy, I was laughing. I'm like,
Right.
how did I make it? Because after that show, I puked like 5 more times in like an hour and a half or 2 hours. And when people say, well, the show must go on, I go, but do you really know what that means?
Yeah.
Do you really know what that means? And are you willing? Are you dedicated? Are you committed to the craft and to the opportunity, that you have? And so here's my greater point. There were a lot of people who came to support me and see me in that grandstand at that state fair that day. None of them knew that I was sick. A lot of them
Exactly.
said, best performance. I have seen you live 20 times. I've never seen you so great. And I'm like, stand back, because I don't want you to get this. They're like, get what? And I would tell them, they're like, what? I remember, I'm not a huge football fan, but I remember like Walter Payton broke some touchdown or yards record or something. And
Hmm.
everyone's like, oh, that's cool. But they found out that he did it with the severe stomach flu. And
Right.
everyone's like, holy cow. That's like, if an artist says, hey, can you help me, or can you whatever, whatever help I can give, which isn't a ton, but whatever I can is just because of experience, which anyone can pick up if you're willing to enter the arena, right? I'm
Yep.
the man in the arena and have been in it for 26 years. And so I'm looking for that, though. I'm just going, I will help you, but if you want me to do it for you, that's not going to work.
Yep.
If you want me to come alongside you and support you, I'm all in. But are you willing to do these things? And when I lay it out like that, sometimes they go, no, I'm not. I'm
Yep.
not willing to do those things. And I go, when you are, call me. I'm your guy. I will be your biggest advocate and supporter. I will do whatever. I will try to help you move mountains. But until you're there, or here's another one real quick. I had a guy tell me, he goes, I'm 99% sure that I want to go down this path. And I said, then don't.
Yeah.
Because it's already hard enough at 100%.
Yep.
It is really, really hard when you're giving it 100%. That 99%, here's what'll happen, and I've seen it. That 1%, when something goes not quite right, the self-doubt creeps in. I shouldn't have written this song. I shouldn't have recorded there. I shouldn't have gone on tour with this band. I know a few guys that joined a band in because they couldn't break it on a solo. And then the band breaks up 4 years later and they said, I should have gone solo. And my thing, this happened a couple of weeks ago. I said, hey man, why don't you go solo now? Yeah, but that's
Exactly.
not the point. I wasted the last 4 years. I go, you just wasted the last 4 minutes, dude. Right? Mindset, strategy, skills, tools. You got to start with the mindset. You got to get in a good headspace. Where do we go from here? They're like, yeah, I suppose. There is no I suppose. Where do we go from here? And if you don't do that, honestly, I've done a few things in life, not a lot, but the most difficult thing that I have ever done in my life has been to pursue music.
Yeah,
It's
for
been the
sure.
most obstacles, the most roadblocks, the most frustration, the most criticism. You put yourself out there, everybody's a critic, you know?
Yeah.
And in fact, it blows me away because, you know, you'll do something like a song and you'll get like 10 people who go, that song blows me away. And other 2 people are like, hey, don't play that song again. I don't like it. In fact, I stopped showing people songs before I recorded them
Mm-hmm.
because what would happen inherently is I'd get feedback from a couple of people and I would change the song. Like I knew in my core what I wanted the song to be as a writer, but I'd have like my buddy who's a truck driver go, hey, you know what, maybe you should do this. And so I would do it and then it wasn't as good
Right.
and it didn't hit and I'd record it that way. And then at live shows, I would go, hey, it's this way on the CD, you know, 2 years later, but I wrote it this way. What do you think? And they're like, oh my God, that's amazing.
Right.
I'm like, all I did was put the bridge back, you know,
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. You just got to trust your gut. You got to be willing to go for it.
Well, one of the people that I really I talked to her on the podcast, and her and I have really, you know, we have a really good professional relationship now. We're always text or DMing back and forth, and one of the things that she really said that stuck with me, it's like, why are we focusing on the negative when you have a sea of amazing comments or feedback, whether that's online or whether that's in person? Most of the time in person, as you well know, no one's coming up to you saying you suck. You know, everybody is
Yeah.
usually pretty, if
Yeah.
if they didn't like it, they're not going to come talk to you. But online, you're like you just said,
Yeah.
you have 10 comments of people like, wow, this is awesome, this song is changing the way I'm thinking about things, this song changed my life possibly just from listening to it. And then you have those 1 or 2 people that are just kind of being jerks, and that's for some reason
Yeah.
us as human beings why we focus in on those two negative things. And then like you said, the
Yeah.
self-doubt starts coming back and you're like, great, well, what am I going to do now?
Yeah.
The thing that has really forced me to not worry about those things, and it's not like I'm even forcing it, it's just that I love playing guitar so much. Nothing is going to stop me from playing guitar, writing music. And even if I wasn't doing podcasting or anything, I would still be doing it. That's what I try to tell people that want to get into the industry. It's like, if you were homeless living on the street and you still had your instrument or you would still sing, would you still do it? Because if the answer is yes, then
Yeah.
yes, you probably need to be doing that. But if the answer is, well, no, I'd
Yeah.
probably pack that stuff away and go get a real job, then it's like, well, like you said, you're that 99% right now. You know, you need to be at that 100 because
Yeah.
it's difficult, man.
Yeah. So you have a military background, right?
Yes,
Um, and by the way, thank you for your service.
I
I
appreciate it. Thank
appreciate
you.
that very much. Um, this is your MOS,
Exactly.
right? This is I'm not. It's not. I'm going to wake up and think about what I'm going to do today. Because if I can ask, what branch of the military did you serve in?
I was in the Army and I was an infantry guy.
Okay. Yeah. So, um, did you wake up and go, I wonder if I should be an infantry guy? I don't know if you're 11 Bravo or what, but I
Yeah,
wonder if I
11
should be
Bravo.
an infantry guy. Okay. Or if I should go get Starbucks today and maybe pick up underwater basket weaving,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
It wasn't even a choice. And we have to get there with the pursuit of music and go, this is my MOS. Because here's the deal. I removed myself from the music scene for about 7 years. It never came out of my DNA.
Mm-hmm.
Never, ever, ever. It squelched, it shrunk. I rebuilt it more than ever, and said, this is it. But I want to go back to what you just shared because I have a real living example that will hit this home for anybody listening to this. Because I did the same thing that you talked about, like the one comment. A few years ago, well, several years ago now, I released an album and did a CD release party. And we actually, this was a good problem, but it held like 400 people, the
Okay.
auditorium, and they oversold. They sold
Mm.
like 750 or 775 tickets. And they're like, so who do you want to reject and what do you want to do? And I'm like, because I was going to the next town the next night. And
Right.
I'm like, nobody. We're going to do 2 shows. They're like, how? I, I'm going to give 2 2-hour shows, like literally back to back. Give me 4 minutes to drink some water and pee between the 2 shows, but this is what we're going to do. And we did. And we sold out 2 shows. Okay. That's a
Nice.
really big deal for an independent artist like me. And so the fact that it got sold out for 2 full shows, the fact that I got standing ovations at both shows, that promise this isn't about bragging about me. There's a bigger part to this. Because there's a humbling part, trust me. And then the fact that people were standing in the lobby outside and it was rain. It wasn't pouring, but it was like sprinkling outside. And the line for people to buy CDs and t-shirts and hats and hoodies and stuff and stickers was out the door, and people were standing in the rain. In fact, it was a high school auditorium, and they had like, I don't know if you guys have there, but we have city pages, or did at least then, like
Oh,
the
okay. Yeah. Yeah.
newspaper. There was a rack in the lobby, and people were standing outside with city pages over their head to keep the rain. You would think that all that would be good, but here's what happened. I signed all those CDs, all those hats, all those other people, few minutes standing ovations, and you'd think that that would be enough to suffice to say, you don't completely suck, Jim Anthony. But when everything was done and we were loading out, my wife was with me, and we were walking down the back hall. There were a couple of janitors that had to take care of the building and lock the doors. They were walking 10 feet in front of us in this little narrow hallway out to the back loading dock where my truck was parked. And one of them didn't know I was there, meant no harm by this, said, man, I got to tell you, I don't know what everybody thinks the big deal with that Jim Anthony guy is. I don't really think he's that good.
Yep.
I got in my truck. I drove home. Didn't say a word. Got home. Didn't say a word. We're like 3 hours in, and my awesome, supportive, beautiful bride said, why are you so quiet? And I said, did you hear what that guy said? She goes, I did. Did you know you just played for 2 sold out shows? Did you know that you got 2 standing ovations unsolicited? Did you know that you sold more merch than you ever have by tenfold in that particular? Did you know people were standing in the rain to have you grab a Sharpie and sign a piece of thing because they wanted to memorialize this event because you made them feel good for 2 hours? I go, I can't believe he said that. And she just went, you got to get unstuck. It's
Right.
crazy, dude. That's not even the 90, that's not even the 1%. That's like the 1/1000th% that hit me. And I got to tell you, it kind of, I carried it with me for days. I wasn't sulking or quiet for days, but in the back of my mind, I was like, I wonder what I could do to please that one dude.
Yeah.
Right. And that's not it. Because here's the other thing. This will define whether you and I could be friends or not. Does pineapple belong on pizza? Is pineapple good on pizza?
No.
We're on the same page. We're all good. There are some people that go pineapple and pizza. I'm like, we can't be friends. I don't draw a line for many things, but pineapple and pizza is one of them. And of course I'm joking about that, but it's kind of the same. It's just like, maybe that guy just likes pineapple and pizza and
Exactly.
I don't.
Yep.
But we both like pizza. We both like to eat. We both have, whatever. And it's just got to be okay. And that's the other thing is I have learned somehow to get okay with people believing or feeling that I'm just not their cup of tea.
Yeah.
And you just have to get to a point where you go, that's okay.
Yeah.
That is completely okay. And I didn't honestly get there until I was probably in my early 40s. I was probably 41 or 42, when I got there. I wish I could have got there sooner, because also I think inherently a lot of artists have a bit of a tendency to be people pleasers.
For sure.
And I certainly had and have that. But it's no longer my mission to make everybody like me or everybody like my music or everybody enjoy it. What I'm looking for is the people who can appreciate the type of music that I do with the type of stories that I tell in those songs.
Yeah, man. I mean, At the end of the day, it kind of goes back to what you were saying earlier. You know, you're staying authentic to yourself. And I've always tried to say be consistent and honest with yourself. So, I mean, it's essentially the same thing, but you know, that's the biggest thing. You're not going to please everybody. And if you try to, you're going to go insane
Yeah,
because
that's right.
you're not going to be able to do write songs, play music that you enjoy playing.
That's right.
And if you enjoy doing it, that is going to come off as you as a performer, especially live. Even if it's like you said, even if you're just playing on TikTok,
That's right.
it's that energy is going to go from you to that audience, regardless of the medium on how they're consuming it. You know, and that's my biggest thing. It's the people that really try hard to please everybody. I think that, and I think that's what we see on social media a lot too, because it's all validation of numbers. It's really all it is. You
Yeah.
know, people get so wrapped up in the likes and the comments and wanting this many subscribers or whatever you want to say. It's like, yeah, that's great, but long term, you're not building an audience. You're just giving random people that are kind of jerks on the internet some validation. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? For not
That's
being
right.
true to yourself.
That's
That's
right.
that's my biggest thing, man. But before we go ahead and wrap this up, I'm doing this new
Mhm.
thing. Um, I'm not sure what to call it quite yet. I'm still trying to get some reps under this one, but I guess I'm just going to say words of wisdom.
Yeah.
So, from your perspective, somebody that maybe let's think about it from this way. They're at that 100%. This is what they want to do. They know it in their soul, and this is what they're going to do. What is some advice you wish someone would have told you when you were maybe just starting off and getting into this world?
Yeah. I think that one's fairly easy for me to answer. Don't worry about defining who you should be.
Okay,
Worry about refining who you actually are, right?
there you
And
go.
then
Yeah,
let that shine through in your artistry because it is just a vehicle for you to share exactly and precisely who you were, who you are, who you're supposed to be, and who you will be in the future. That'll be the most fulfilling thing and probably the straightest path to your whatever your definition of success is.
there you go. Well, dude, I got my title right now for the podcast episode.
Fantastic.
Before too, where can everybody find you at? Let's get all your plugs out of the way. That way everybody can check out what you're doing, man.
Yeah, absolutely. So probably a good place to go to where you can funnel to everything is my official website, jimanthonymusic.com. And that will link to LinkedIn and to Instagram, which the handles are Jim Anthony Music. Same with YouTube.
Nice.
And on there, and the music is available on Spotify, everywhere music can be streamed and downloaded. I would ask everybody also to go to the YouTube channel and check out. I've done one official music video in my whole career, and it's probably the last one. It's the official music video for True American Hero. That's a song that I'm particularly proud of. That we're trying to promote. Not trying to promote Jim Anthony, by the way. With that, we're trying to promote a project which is to increase awareness to the unseen scars and the battles of PTSD with veterans, and we're also trying to offer some encouragement and support to those who maybe struggle with some of those traumas that they've taken with them. And that video can also be seen, I guess, on the website at jimanthonymusic.com or on the YouTube channel at Jim Anthony Music. And last, I do a TikTok live once a week on Wednesday nights at 7:30 Central. If anybody would want to go check out some music there, and I'm going to start doing a live on Sunday nights at 7:30 Central on YouTube. So if
Nice.
someone wants to subscribe there, we're just trying to hit a couple different audiences. And then on TikTok, I just do impromptu lives when I get time. And when the guitar is tuned up and it's in my hand, sometimes I'll just go on. And I always say I'm going to go on for about an hour, and sometimes it's 3 hours till I literally
Oh
lose
yeah.
my voice. Sort of a deal. But that's where people can check me out now.
Cool. Well, I'll have all those linked down below. Hey, Jim, I had a great time talking to you, man. You're a super awesome dude. I'm happy we got to connect and actually talk and not just be back and forth on TikTok, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And I appreciate the opportunity.
Oh, dude, no problem at all. Pleasure was all mine. But for all of you guys listening, thanks for hanging out, and we will check you guys next week on Man the Helm podcast. And that's going to do it, folks. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode. If you guys like the video stuff, let me know in the comments down below. Also, down there will be any of my extra links, all of Jim's links, including stuff for my Patreon, whatnot. If you guys want to reach out for the podcast, you can email me at manthehelmpodcast@gmail.com. So, hope you guys have a fantastic weekend, and we'll see you on the next episode.